The next lady that I'm going to introduce to you is the dog body in the industry. She's known to be the dog body, hardworking lady. Her name is Lynnette. I hope she's here and hasn't gone through to it. Lynnette, are you here? Oh, there we are. Lynnette is part of the companies that are looking after women, a consulting company itself. She is not the Sinus quality manager, but she's a quality manager within her own company, their own company called Solutions for Elevating, Pty Limited. And she is a custodian of all the Sinus rules. So I'm going to call her to come to stage now, Lynnette Vermaak, and will give us her speech. May we warmly welcome her to the stage. Welcome, Lynnette. All the best.
Thank you very much, Freddie.
Madam. Thank you. I won't bother
Goodness, there's no one here to talk to. You've all just run away. Fortunately, if there were no women in the industry, I wouldn't even be here. And you'd be listening to some other chat, because I see maybe the ladies in the venue I can count on less than one hand. Just to clarify, I'm generally the dog's body, and that's why I ended up here today. Yes. And I do the SANUS management for Solutions for Elevating, which is just our internal company, SANUS management. I am not anything to do with SANUS, the global organization for South Africa and larger. So I just need to clarify that a little bit. The quotation of, if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always got. So if you don't look to the future, you're not really going to be able to stay with the times and change anything and keep up. That quotation is attributed to Henry Ford. Henry Ford was the person who mass-produced motor vehicles. He wasn't the first motor vehicle manufacturer, as most of you gentlemen will probably know, but he was the person who started mass production of motor vehicles with the purpose of making them affordable so that everybody would be able to have a car. He lost touch with his audience just slightly, because his concept was, you could have a Ford, but you could only have a black Ford. He didn't see the need to provide a variety of colors. And that tied into his mass production line, and that he couldn't change the color of the paint. It was just too complicated. But he didn't keep up with customer requirements, and he didn't keep up with changes in technology. Here are a few other people who didn't keep up with changes in technology. And they were all, at one stage, leaders in their industries. And quite frankly, they don't exist anymore. They have disappeared off the face of the business world. The evolution of the music consumption is something else that reminds us that we need to keep up with technology changes and how consumers want to consume items differently. Who remembers a cassette player? Maybe some people in this audience, because there's a few of us who are baby boomers. But generally, very few people, unless they're critical music people, will have a record that you play on a turntable. It just doesn't happen anymore. My children walk into the kitchen with their cell phone and a boombox, and they take their music wherever they want to go. They play it in the kitchen, they go into the car. They don't even use the radios in the car anymore. They play music off their cell phone, which they have streamed or possibly recorded. All of this indicates disruption in the market. The world's largest taxi company doesn't own a car. They own no vehicles. And they haven't really been around all that long. And the world's most popular media owner doesn't even create any contact. They don't have to have editors and journalists creating contact to put on their site. And the largest accommodation provider doesn't own a single hotel room. These people have changed in a very short space of time the way the market operates. Other people who have done that is Amazon. Amazon's probably the biggest store in the world, but they don't have bricks and mortar stores. Google Maps. Who of you drives around Joburg today with a map book in the car? I know that we used to do that. 20 years ago, you couldn't go anywhere without a map book in your car. Today, you've got a problem if your cell phone battery is flat, but otherwise you don't need a map book to get anywhere. And the post office is finding that they need to reinvent themselves. Nobody sends letters anymore. You don't even get birthday and Christmas cards very often. It's all done by email, or these days, more often, by SMS and WhatsApp. It's just because technology is changing and life is becoming faster, and it's a much faster paced environment. And the disruptors in the market are also moving, because we are on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. And quite frankly, I don't think any of us really knows very much about the fourth industrial revolution. It's there. The minister mentioned it. It's going to affect us. But do we know how it's going to affect us? Generally speaking, we don't, but we know it's some big monster that we have to look out for so that we can keep pace with whatever changes happen. The people who are disruptors and who will be on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution are not generally the leaders in the market today. They generally do not come from within the industries. They're outsiders. They see things differently. And therefore, they are able to spot a gap in the market and do something to resolve their problem that they're having with particular service issues. Because that's generally how disruptors start new businesses. The Internet of Things. I know that Schindler is going to be speaking and doing a presentation on the Internet of Things. And I'm going along to find out about it. Virtual reality, artificial intelligence. They are things that we know about, but we don't really have much detail, and we don't really know where it's taking us. My next slide indicates a lot of people that we have around today. There are three different types of people. There are those who make things happen, and I hope that the audience today is filled with people who make things happen. There are those who watch things happen, so at least they're aware, they see this change. And then the other people sit around and wonder what happened, and why have things changed in their life, because they didn't really see it coming. That quotation comes from a lady called Mary Kay Ash. Mary Kay had a cosmetics company, and that was her take on the world. Now, what do women bring to the lift industry? Firstly, they don't bring the testosterone that the men have. Women are different. Women operate on intuition and gut feeling. A woman will tell you that she'll walk through a place and she'll say to you, something's not right in that area. And you may not have noticed it. And they bring a softer touch to the business. And they're more compassionate. and more in touch with human emotions. And women are better communicators on those levels than men are. Men are very real. Reality, this is what happens, that how it goes, and this is what I'm telling you to do. And less consultative than women are. Women bring compassion and empathy to the workplace. People will more readily go to a female within their company, whether they're a senior or a junior person, and speak to them and get advice from them than they will do to a man. The other thing that women are, they're generous, and they're very good team players. A woman will generally not soldier on through business on her own. Generally, she'll have a team of people to collaborate, to work with, to bounce ideas off. Women will do that a lot more readily than men will do. Men, and this is also a generalization, will go into a boardroom and they will say, this is what we're doing, and this is where we're taking our company from here on. And in very few situations is that thought process challenged. The boss has said so, and so it will be. Whereas if you have females in that mix, there's more discussion will happen around where you're going and what you're doing before the decision is taken. More human emotion, feeling, and input will come to a decision before it is made. And in the business, the workplace today, it's not about treating women as equals. Women are not equal to men. I mean, we know that, but none of us want to acknowledge it. In the workplace, women have to be equal to men. But they don't, because they're different. For the reasons we've just discussed, that is what makes women different. But it does not mean that they are not able to contribute to your business. Generally, women are more natural mediators than men are. They are probably better organized. And they're patient and they plan quite well. So if you have a project that you're initiating in your company, try and make sure that you have at least one woman on the team. Not outnumbered by 20 chaps, but have a better ratio than that, so that you do get the compassionate side coming in from your business and seeing what customers want. Women are very good in marketing positions because generally they're able to establish what the requirements are of the person who is your customer. What does your customer want? More often than not, women in marketing are able to establish that sooner than the men are. So women in business, it's not about treating women as equals. It's about celebrating and harnessing the difference between men and women. And that's where the strength lies in the future development of industry and business. The strange thing about this quote that I opened with, that was attributed and often is to Henry Ford, that quotation comes, if you trace it back, they can only find it going back to 1981 by a lady called Jessie Potter. So often, things women bring to the industry are attributed to males and men dominance. But Jessie Potter was an educator and a counselor, and she established an NGO, and she's the person who said that if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get what you've always received. So look out and change things before things catch up with you and hit you on the back of the head.